I started recording, and now so, like, what's your understanding of the fivefold ministry?
For apostle, that would be somebody that helps people to. That's like your guide on your path through, Christ or whatever. That's like your through the process person. Prophet would be your introductory person. Evangelist would be your spokesperson, I guess. Your wide scale, delivery. Teacher would be, if I'm saying it right, teacher. I think of apostle and teacher would be the more lawful of all, and I guess pastor too. But I think of pastor in its own way,
Yeah, like more like a mother.
Yeah. I think of pastor more as a paternal figure rather than like a. I think of apostle and teacher. From what I read in the descriptions, they seem to be the most lawful of the five.
All right.
What's your thoughts? I mean, how would you describe each of them?
I just listened to Jesse the Plans. The one I share videos of. He described it, and he had a good way of putting it. So the apostle is like a delivery truck, and they have all the stuff in there that to set up shop, that sort of thing. And the prophet, um it was I forgot all of them, but yeah, I mean, not all of them. I remember the apostle, but yeah, the apostle's that, and so like they would be the delivery truck, and then the pastor would be the one who tells you what you can eat from the truck because of like your faith level, what you can actually handle eating, like at the Word of God, what can be ministered to you at this time, like what you can handle having ministered to you. Because that's like some people can handle God is love, right, like immediately, and then other ones it's like they can't buy that because they don't, like, it doesn't make sense to them because they're looking at how the world is. And then, like, people talk about God being in control, and then that gets it gives a warped sense of God. It's like, if God is in control, why is there so much evil? Because if God's in control, there's that's like, with heaven, there is no evil in heaven because God is in control of heaven. How God isn't in control of the earth is because there's evil on the earth.
Right.
Because how can an absolutely good God be in control of a place that has so much evil in it?
Right.
Which leaves it to, we're the ones in control of the earth, not God. I mean, we're His children, so like, we can act in His place, so to speak. Like, that's like, if God's gonna do a major thing, He tells the prophet about it, and then the prophet tells everybody, and then it happens. It doesn't just happen. He gets the voice of man to speak, and it can be a woman too. But the point being, mankind talks about a thing, and then it happens. God doesn't just make it happen. There's a process, and
So
it's yeah.
I'm sorry. So if the apostle is the delivery truck, the pastor is the delegator of the goods.
Yeah.
So now we have teacher, evangelist, and prophet.
Yeah, the evangelist, because I don't remember all of what he said. I mean, I have it in my mind, I suppose, but it's like, there's some things that aren't at the fore, or aren't readily available. But with the teacher, he said it's like that's the one who oh, so like, how food, if you're eating something, they have labels. The teacher would be the one who's saying, read the label, like, read the description of, because that's their whole thing with the Bible is, what does the Bible say about this? So it'd be like, if you're going to eat something, or if you're going to read a verse, what is the full context of the verse? That would be the teacher's role, the context of things.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And
prophet be? I mean, even if you can't remember what he said, how would you describe that?
The prophet is they give the most insight into God. So that that'd be it, because they're getting a word directly from God, and not like you can have regular conversation with God, so there's that, but the word they get from God, it's in a like a bam, this is gonna happen sort of way. So they're in touch with a I guess you could say the insanity of God, that sort of thing. You know, like what the world would consider insane, the impossibles, stuff like that. And
Yeah.
they would be dealing in that realm where like they would be telling you this thing like the Red Sea is going to be parted, that sort of thing. And people are like, how can that happen? That's impossible, and then it happens because of
And
the
who
word
is
of the prophet.
the evangelist or the prophet? This is the prophet you're
Yeah,
describing.
this is the prophet, and then the evangelist. Um, from what I've seen of like the two evangelists that I've seen most recent, Ted Shuttlesworth was at Fountain of Life, and then Jesse Duplantis is also an evangelist. Well, they're salesmen. They're so like
That's what I was thinking.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like if the apostles got the truck with the goods, the evangelist is the one who's promoting the goods.
Yeah. That's it. That's yeah.
Because like out of all of them, the ones who are most into saying that they're like talking about the end times coming, that's the evangelists. They're the most
Right.
they're the ones promoting that like things are coming to an end now, or that we're in the end times, the 11th hour, that sort of thing. And it's usually I'll hear that coming from the evangelist side of things, instead of like they promote the news of like that sort of thing. Um,
So how do you think the prophet would fit the delivery truck analogy? Because I like the delivery truck analogy to describe each ministry.
yeah, they'd be. Hmm. You know how you have like you have the person who's driving the vehicle, and then you have the person on the other side, and they're like the navigator.
Right.
Well,
Right.
I guess I could see. So the apostle is the messenger. They're out going out delivering the message. The prophet may well be their navigator, telling them where to go. Like
Yeah.
where should you be preaching at?
Yeah. I get that. Yeah.
So I guess
Seems like the prophet is the most surface level of the five ministries.
hmm. But yeah, that because I mean there's more to that role, but that would come into it. Um, hmm. Yeah, anything else on the fivefold ministry you'd like to talk about?
Uh, well, what's your thoughts? What do you I mean, of course, every ministry serves a purpose, but which ministry do you think you relate to the most? I know we both took the quiz, but
Well,
which
I'm assigned to, and I mean not just by the ministry, but just by like as far as what God has ordained me as, I'm ordained as an apostle. So I mean I'm the delivery truck, and
yeah,
I part of like being the delivery truck, it's and I'm also like the most, because you have the different things and how they relate to you. Well, the teacher is my secondary, so that means I'm going to be heavily into what the word says, and that's like, well, I run a ministry, so if I ever get tithes from somebody or offerings, and then the money is there, then it's like, and I mean this should be applying to anybody running a ministry, but look at, because James chapter 1 verse 27, pure religion. So pure religion is you help widows, you help orphans, and you stay unspotted from the world. And usually staying unspotted from the world is not about. I guess money can come into that, but when you help widows and orphans, a lot of the time you can do that with money. So when you get money for, like, if you, like, I run a ministry, so since I run a ministry, and I mean I run it with God, but since I run a ministry, and the clock is I'm gonna stop it and then start it again. Okay, I started again. So yeah, it's the roles is, or I mean like, well, because I'm going with the ministry perspective from the apostle. I mean the I I'm a messenger. So my message is God is love. And because my message is God is love, that means if God is love, he can't be this he can't be tempting people to do evil things. He can't be in control while evil is running amok on the earth. He that can't, because that means how can he be love if it is that? If that's going on. So I mean, that would be my whole message is God, I mean, and this is coming from somebody else, Robin. There's two Robins there, the wife Robin and the husband Robin. But Robin D. Bullock is the apostle. He also works in uh, at prophecy, and then Robin R. Bullock is the pastor, and that's his wife. And like that goes with the whole maternal thing. So from what I've noticed, that my favorite pastors are women. That's like Robin Bullock's wife, a woman and a pastor, and Jesse Duplantis' wife, a woman and a pastor. When I compare them to the male pastors I know about, I prefer the women pastors, and I think it's because the role of because the pastor, even though it's a shepherd, it does have that maternal thing about it. And then, like, when you think of maternal, you think of a woman. You don't think of a man. And like, because the apostle, well, that's the leader of the fivefold ministry. The apostles are the leaders, even though it's not like, oh, I'm above you. It's just that's how the dynamic is. Um, because that's like everybody has their own section, and the apostle's supposed to be leading things. And like with the leader, they're not supposed to be like they can't tell the prophet what it's okay to prophesy. God tells the prophet what it's okay to prophesy, but they are in that leadership role.
What would the exact definition of prophesize be?
um well, and I mean, I don't know, I mean, this may give an answer to it, but so like when I heard Hank Kuhneman, he's a pastor and he deals with prophecy. It's like you get a word from God, and it's usually something like you'd write out, and then you'd write it out, and sometimes after you write out, you wouldn't be told to like just to tell the word right then. You like there might be a few months or something like that, and then you tell it then. So I mean, however, that like in relating to how prophecy works, um, but yeah, to prophesy, well, there's different measures with that. That's like some people, like they'll be in maybe a church service, and then they'll just by utterance of God be saying something like, and oh yeah, that's a good example. So um there was a guy who went to this church, and when he went, like a church building, the body of Christ, and when he went there, there was a lady who was prophesying, like speaking in other tongues, like like that. And it sounds different for different people, like how it sounds for me compared to that. But she was saying that, and the pastor and everyone on the stage, they didn't know what she was saying. They didn't know what was going on, like what the point of what she was saying was. But what it was is the language she was speaking in was speaking to that guy who came to the church, and I guess essentially telling him exactly what he was doing wrong, and it was in his native tongue. So it's like then he ran to the altar, and like it was had his moment with that, and how, well, that's prophesying. Like it's not always, well, I mean, it's sometimes it's just speaking to some, because you're speaking in other tongues, stuff like that. But because prophesying, it's not only there's different categories to it. And I mean, prophecy isn't one of my primary divisions, even though like I know it's there. But it's yeah, that gives an idea of it, though. It's like how they will be able to speak to people in a way that is like of a divine tongue. And because they'll like speaking in other tongues, even though everybody can do it, it's like it's there's something about that with the prophet, with the office of the prophet, with the office of the prophet. And it was like so you like you accept Jesus into your heart, and that whole, I mean, I don't remember the exact phrasing, but there's a certain thing you'd say like but yeah, you accept him into your heart, and then it get to give like Jesus, I accept you as my Lord and Savior. I accept that you were raised from the dead, and that you've done that to save me from sin. And then give me the evidence of speaking in other tongues. And then like you just start it's like that sort of thing, like just whatever, because it's not like what I just said. I don't know. I don't know the translation of that, but I do know that it's it is speaking in tongues, even though I don't. My flesh cannot comprehend what I just said. Like it's that's but if but there are certain people that they have the gift of interpreting other tongues, and I just use other tongues. So then you have people who they would have heard that just as clearly compared to other people where it's like they'd hear it just like I heard it. But yeah, that thing. But yeah, that because I was talking, yeah, and then we went back to that. So, yeah, because like when I had the idea of doing this video, I didn't have a like I could have picked like a subject or something, but I like on YouTube, a lot of people they'll do a script for a video, and I guess that's not as much if maybe if they have a group, it's not like different people, it may not be as much, but like especially when they do it by themselves, they'll have a script. I don't use a script. And that's like right now I'm not using, like, we've done videos before where like had this question, that question, that question, and I mean that's as much of a script as there was as I ever do. Just I wrote certain questions, but not like I'm gonna say this thing at this point or this thing at this point, like make a joke at this point, not like that.
Yeah. No, I get what you're
Um, but yeah, I mean we've I'm still figuring out what to make of this video. I mean, I know it'll be like, okay, about fivefold ministry, that sort of thing. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about like with fivefold ministry before we stop talking about it?
What do you think is the key attribute for each of the 5 ministries to have?
Um
If you could pick a singular attribute for each ministry,
well, I mean, if I like, does a word work? Just a word for an attribute, or
just a word. Just a
okay?
word for yeah.
Well, the apostle is a messenger. The prophet
Okay.
is a seer. They can see things nobody else can see. The evangelist is I guess but they they're very engaging in what they say. Like it's not like it's very there's a sort of it's like a charismatic thing about it. There's a very charming quality to it.
Yeah.
And then
Like the showman.
yes, like the showman, because they're promoting something. And then and I like I was doing my finger that like this would have been here, but because I didn't do this one first. But anyways, because like this would be the ring finger, so that would be the pastor, and the pastor would be the shepherd. They shepherd flocks. Pastors shepherd flocks, and that means that they are there to instruct people. And then the teacher, their like their office is all about correction. Like, what does the Bible say about this? Are we actually doing what the Bible said, or are we not? Like, are we making up man-made doctrine, or are we obeying God's doctrine?
Yep.
So, yeah, they'd be like the correction for the teacher, direction for or I mean, shepherding for the pastor, um, it charming for like it's like whatever word, like something like charming for the evangelist,
Yeah.
because they're drawing people in. That's what they do. And then the prophet, which is the pointer finger, they well, I mean, I went over them, and I went over the apostle. The video is about to end.